Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for April 8th. It's Monday. That means $9 Monday at the site, sportsmemo.com. Every play is discounted to just $9. Check it out. Great day to check out the site. Also some free plays up there at sportsmemo.com for tonight's MLB action. We're also talking the national championship game from a betting perspective with our guest, Robbie Veno. Rob, welcome into the podcast. How are you today?
I am great today, Drew. How about yourself?
I've been better, man. I'm not going to lie. The Final Four did not treat me good. It's been a pretty good college basketball season, good run of 3 years now. But on Saturday, it did not go well. I had the over in the Virginia-Auburn game right there towards the end, did not hit over. And my team, Auburn, man, fell just short, and we had it. So overall, not that great of a weekend from a sports betting perspective. But hey, somewhat healthy and alive, so can't complain too much. But Robbie, how was your weekend?
Well, for the Final Four, it went pretty well, but it was the side and total correlation in the Texas Tech-Michigan State game that went well for me. Haven't had a lot of 5%ers this year, Drew, but the 5%er on Texas Tech-Michigan State under came through with flying colors, really never in doubt, and also had Texas Tech plus points. I, like you, was on Auburn over the total against Virginia and fell a little bit short there. But like I say, the Texas Tech-Michigan State game really made my night for me. So we'll see who wins this one tonight. And, you know, there is a little bit to talk about that went on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we can get right into it. And guys, just a reminder, it is $9 Monday at sportsmemo.com. But let's talk about it. I mean, it's 8-11, 8-12, the rotation number on the odds screen. This game on CBS, 9:20 Eastern tip here. A little later, but I guess, you know, I'm a night owl anyway, Robbie. I enjoy it that it's a little later. We got the 3 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders versus the 1 seed Virginia Cavaliers. We're seeing 1.5 mostly, a 1 out there at Heritage. So if you're open to shopping around, there is a 1 if you like Virginia. However, it's 1.5 at most shops. So Texas Tech Red Raiders plus 1.5, and we're seeing the total anywhere from 17.5. That's 117.5. Seeing mostly 118s though. So low total here. That's to be expected. And Robbie, I was looking for more of a low 120s. Thinking it was a national championship game. They might have to bump it up a little bit and firing on the under. But at this 118 mark, you know what? I'm just going to be watching this as a fan just because it gets a little tricky going under, you know, sub 120. If one or if both of these two teams go on a run from 3, you don't need to hit many shots to get there. So that's my view on this total. But I'll throw it to you, man. Texas Tech, Virginia, how you looking to bet the national championship game?
Yeah, well, I thought it probably would come where it did open at 119. My power rating showed the game to be a pick'em, so maybe slight value towards Texas Tech there. I think that most who eyeballed last game, the 2 Final Four contests, probably if you're of the mindset what I saw last is what I'm going to bet. I think that a majority of those type bettors would lean toward Texas Tech, a hair bit more impressive than was Virginia, and I think a lot of people think Auburn got robbed. So maybe, you know, Texas Tech I thought would get some money right away, but they haven't. That number's been stable all the way through, 1.5. Like you say, a stray 1 out there. Total went down, and the totals bounced around. I think we got conflicting opinions here because as soon as it hits 117.5 off the opener of 119, it seems to bounce back to 118 and then back to 117.5. So we'll see a little back and forth, I think, throughout the next couple of hours. How they got here, Drew, not significantly different in style of play, but certainly significantly different in the way the game ended. And, you know, when you have a game that ends the way Virginia-Auburn did, there's some stuff along the way that gets forgotten. And for me, a guy who was pulling for over and was looking for, at that case, your desperation Hail Mary type hope to get the game over is overtime. And for me, the one that sticks with me was the Jared Harper missed free throw with a few seconds left in the game, an opportunity to put Auburn up 3. He had gone 11 for 11 the game before when Harper got to the free throw line with Auburn up 1. Like I say, with only a few seconds left, maybe it was like 8 seconds left. Nails the first. You just automatically think the second one is going, and then you look for the other side maybe to nail a 3 and you get overtime and you can get your overplay. But Harper's miss really, I think, is a bit overlooked in the fact that Auburn lost. Worst case scenario, they probably should have been in overtime. He's too good of a free throw shooter, 81, 82%, to go out and miss the second one. I could see the first one maybe being a bit of nerves, but when he drilled the first one, I thought for sure he'd get the second. Obviously, on the other end, the ensuing possessions with Auburn giving fouls that they had to give, that were available for them to give, and then the way the whole thing ended. Certainly controversial. Kyle Guy, given credit, steps up there and nails 3 free throws. Again, in situations like you and I were in, you are hoping that Kyle Guy will at least clang one of them. But he didn't cave to the pressure, and so we have Virginia, we have Texas Tech. I think when you look at it, Drew, like I said earlier, if you're going to use the eye test of what you saw last, I think you're on the Texas Tech side. For me, and I commented about this on Twitter during the Virginia game, Tony Bennett's offense, and it's nothing new to anybody, but when you see it in championship-type format, and you watch a team grind a 30-second shot clock down to 8 seconds and then decide we have to go, it's a hard way to score points. They don't really penetrate the lane. They don't do much other than hoist shots for a lot of possessions against Auburn. So I would think that tonight both of these teams know the opposing defense is extremely tough. You don't have the full week to prepare, right? I mean, these guys all had the 5 days to prepare for Michigan State and to prepare for Auburn. Here it's only 1 day. Maybe early on some stuff could catch either team by surprise here and they'll have to make adjustments. But I think that if I'm the head coach of Virginia or Texas Tech, knowing how tough they play half-court defense, the immediate installation into the game plan for me is going to be, let's look for early offense when we can get it, so it's not such a struggle with the shot clock running down every single possession. That doesn't mean run it up the floor, but it means, first available open shot might be the best we get. It's like a hitter standing up there and watching the first fastball go right down the middle. It's going to have some early offense in here for whoever wins. There's a couple, they're mirror images of each other, but there are a couple of differences here. First off, when you look at the amount of free throws Texas Tech has shot in this tournament, 84 of them. And look at how many free throws Virginia has shot in the tournament, 55. That's a plus 29 in free throw attempts to Texas Tech here, a team that obviously attacks a little bit more than Virginia does. Virginia has not shot double-digit free throws in regulation time, but twice during this tournament. They did shoot double-digit free throws against Purdue, it was overtime, but Tech has shot them every single game. And then I think, of course, turnovers. Virginia just doesn't turn it over. Tech has forced a bunch of turnovers. Those are really your only two statistical differences between these two teams. Virginia shot the best of anybody from the floor in that Final Four. Virginia shot 49% from the field. Pretty nice number considering the stadium sightlines, which I thought were bothersome for Auburn shooters until late in the game when Bryce Brown really picked it up and started nailing some threes. You've had one game to go ahead and judge these sight lines. Now, I think these shooters, there's 6 guys on the floor, Drew, in starting lineups or sixth man that shoot over 40% from 3 on both of these teams combined. So you've got a lot of shooters here. Matt Mooney happens to be the one guy who stood out from distance in the Final Four. But I think with a game under their belts, maybe these sight lines these shooters become a little more accustomed to them. Certain things may fall now. I just thought Auburn was bit by that background setting a little bit. Not a little bit, probably for about the first 35 minutes of that contest. Game that's really close to call. A game that as we talked off the top, the total is bouncing back and forth. Should be, I mean, it's not the offensive score fest that many people would like that's more aesthetically pleasing, but it should be a real good game here. Both head coaches firmly planted as tops in their business. We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people focusing. I read an article on Yahoo that it was really kind of negative towards college basketball in the national championship game as how it's not going to be exciting. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't necessarily think defensive basketball is not exciting. I mean, they both play, low possession. They're both obviously very talented, or they wouldn't be in the national championship. So I'm not on the train that it's not going to be, a good game to watch. But I could see, the Zion Williamsons out there kind of dunking all over the place isn't necessarily going to be that kind of basketball game. But Robbie, that free throw that you brought up, do you mind repeating it? I think that was a good one. What, Texas Tech 84? How many did UVA free throws?
Yeah, it's a plus 29 in free throw attempts for Texas Tech. Throughout the tournament, they've shot 84 free throws, double-digit free throw attempts in every single contest against all opponents. And for UVA, and UVA, remember, includes an overtime game, so maybe you have 5.5 games, or not 5.5, but 5.25 games for UVA, and they've only shot 55. So 84 to 55 plus 29 on the scoreboard, it results in plus 25 for Texas Tech, who has shot 62 of 84. The other side has made only 37 free throws. They've been a poor free throw shooting team in this tournament, Drew, and it always, again, overall statistics can lie a little bit. It depends who you get to the free throw lines. As we saw, Kyle Guy on the free throw line is going to be a lot different than Diakite from the free throw line where Virginia's concerned. But they've only shot 67% as a team from the free throw line, and to be minus 29 in attempts, it just shows who the more aggressive team is here. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that out. Texas Tech's more aggressive, and we'll see, not knowing how the referees are going to call this game, a little bit difficult. But I will say this, if you want to do comparison style handicapping, Texas Tech played Michigan, a very pedestrian offensive team, an outstanding defensive team with a great head coach in John Beilein. They shredded that team 63 to 44. Virginia, on the other hand, played Oregon, a pedestrian offensive basketball team, a fantastic defensive team down the stretch, a great head coach in Dana Altman. They beat them 53 to 49. So they've both had a game like the one they're going to see tonight inside this tournament. You might say Texas Tech's had two because Michigan State probably qualifies, although they're a little more up-tempo than the two previously mentioned, Michigan and Oregon. But certainly that's something to fall back on for each head coach. Remember the Michigan game, and for Virginia head coach Tony Bennett, remember the Oregon game, and I'd imagine that those two game plans will be installed here for tonight's contest.
Yeah, great breakdown, Robbie. Love talking this with you. You bring up some great points, bringing it towards really just the matchup in general. And also, if you're betting the total, betting it under, something to keep in mind that I've kind of just come accustomed to this year in this price range, and if it's a close game towards the end, just a hint here that I've used the last couple times is, the overtime prop. Because if you have the under and it goes to overtime, obviously that can kill you. So use that. A lot of times it's plus 500 or more if you're betting the under. Also, in this game, Robbie, I have a couple questions. If you don't know, that's fine. I'm asking because I don't know the answer. Are the refs the same as the refs that ref the game before?
There were 10 referees assigned to the Final Four, Drew. Now, which combination of those refs are going to be on the floor tonight? I tried up until the time that we started the podcast to look it up to find out definitively who the refs on the floor would be. You know who the 10 were that were assigned, and some of them are controversial. There's a couple of Big East guys that bring controversy with them as part of this 10-man crew, but I can't find which ones are going to be assigned to this game here tonight. I'm going to continue to look, and it may make a difference, it may not, but certainly if you have referees that are going to call every wrist slap, Texas Tech's a physical type team, and Virginia for that matter too defensively. But both of these teams, especially Virginia, does it without fouling. And we'll see. I mean, a crew that calls a lot of fouls may hurt Virginia tonight. We'll have to see.
And last thing, just a question to you watching the two games. One thing I noticed, and I jumped on your 20-star or your top play on the second game on the under, and the reason was I had the under for Auburn and Virginia. Came down to the end, did not hit. But one thing I noticed was, man, those rims look tight. And when you keep in mind, it's in a football stadium, the two baskets being put up. The sight lines, I think, was an issue, like you touched on for Auburn, but even more so for both sides. Man, I just feel that those rims were tight, and sure enough, it stood in the second game as well. Is that something that you could bring into tonight's game as far as, these kind of balls that are bouncing around on the rim? They're not going in. At least they didn't for the Final Four.
Yeah, and when you think back to it, Drew, great point, because when you think back to when Bryce Brown got hot at the end of the game, he was touching nothing but net. When you think back to Matt Mooney, when he got on the roll for Texas Tech, he was touching nothing but net. These weren't shots that rattled home. The Kyle Guy 3 from the corner in the last 10 seconds was pretty much all net. So I think that tight rims certainly have to be considered, but I do think that these guys now being there since Friday practice and then Saturday game and then Sunday practice and now Monday game, I feel like they're all, these 40% plus shooters. And like I said, there's a multitude of them on both of these teams. I think that those guys' sight lines probably get straightened out a little bit here tonight, and you may see some better shooting out of them. Some of these guys have, let's not say Carson Edwards type range, because he was firing it in from all over the building a couple of rounds ago. But they do have deeper than just, right outside the arc range. So I think that with a lot of time staring at these rims and a lot of shots put up here the last few days, maybe we see a few more go down here tonight. Certainly both teams want to keep you out of the lane, right? They want to force you to shoot from the perimeter, so it's going to have to work for whoever's going to win the game. Yeah,
no, good breakdown, Robbie. And guys, it's $9 Monday at sportsmemo.com. There's the National Championship podcast for you. Let's finish it out with quick hitters on the MLB card, Robbie. We got 7:10 Eastern start on ESPN. Looking to bet something before the National Championship game. This might be a good one to watch and win on. New York Yankees, Houston Astros, Tanaka versus Verlander on the hill. It looks like Houston minus 150, minus 155 favorites at home. Total of 8. Robbie, how would you quick hit bet this one tonight?
Yeah, I think very, very quickly, brief synopsis, Drew, is that, Justin Verlander will have a weakened New York Yankees lineup to pitch to. The Yankees got Giancarlo Stanton back yesterday, which is a big plus for them, but still a lot of bats missing from that particular, Stanton's still out and a lot of bats missing from that lineup. DJ LeMahieu has stepped in and hit fairly decent. But I think that Verlander gets the edge here. There's no question about it. Depleted Yankee lineup, a Houston Astro lineup that started the year a little bit cold, has come on the last couple of games, especially yesterday. Bullpen more of a concern for Houston here. I think if you're looking, maybe a 5-inning play on Verlander over Tanaka might be a way to go. I'm just not big on this type of price range, so it wouldn't be for me. But I do think Houston holds the edge simply because of the Yankee lineup right now, just missing the amount of bats that they are.
All right, Robbie, and one more here. Atlanta, Colorado. This is an 8:40 Eastern first pitch. We got Tehran versus Freeland. Freeland coming from the left side. Also, Rockies minus 120 a mile high with a total of 11, Robbie.
Yeah, and a couple of big injuries for Colorado last night, Drew, including one David Dahl, who you could argue has been their best hitter so far this season. When you take a couple pieces out of the Colorado offense, makes them a little bit easier to pitch to. Julio Tehran's got very, very good career numbers against the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland, since last year, has been tremendous. A kid that not only pitched well on the road, but pitched well in Coors Field and has decent numbers against the Atlanta bats. This game has been bet up from 10 to 11 total-wise. And I was a little bit surprised because I think the pitchers both have edges here. Bullpens, obviously, we have to handicap bullpens every single night. Atlanta didn't use a lot of pitches in their win yesterday, so you can probably get the top arms back here tonight. But for me, the depletions from the Colorado lineup certainly would suggest a shot at the under is worth taking here.
All right, Robbie. Well, guys, Robbie's got his MLB $9 Monday top-rated total up. He's got his national title game premier best bet up. Also an MLB NL upper tier diamond best bet. All three discounted to just $9. You can get the 5 percenters, 4 percenters, 3 percenters, no matter what, up to $30 normally priced just for $9 right now at sportsmemo.com. Guys, enjoy the national championship game. Robbie, best of luck to you. Thanks for the time, and best of luck to everybody out there. We'll talk tomorrow. More sports betting content.